Hi, and welcome to another part of our series of Talking About. We're going to be talking about social media. My name is Brett Ryan. I'm the CEO of Focus on the Family Australia, and a warm welcome to you. We at Focus on the Family have 3 I's: being informed, being involved, being intentional. And this is an area, especially in social media and technology, that you as a parent need to be better informed, because your kids will know more about technology than you do. Well, they think they do, but you can be wise and actually help guide them when it comes to their consumption of how much technology, but particularly of what they allow on the social media platforms. Being involved actually means being engaged with your kid, being interested in what they're interested in. You earn the right to speak into their lives. And having a healthy relationship means that you won't be in conflict all the time, but you'll be actually able to have these opportunities to have dialogue about what they are consuming when it comes to technology and what social media platforms. And then it's all very well to know what to do, and then you have to be intentional about doing these things. And I'm going to give you some tips on how you as a parent can help guide your children when it comes to social media. Social media is quite broad. You might have heard of Facebook. Obviously, everyone's heard of Facebook, and there's Twitter, and there's Instagram, and Snapchat. There's various platforms of vlogging, and you can join groups, and you can play games with people across the globe. And we've not actually got a new thing of online dating, and this is where it's happening, and that's all on a screen. And so social media is where websites and apps where people congregate and communicate with one another. And your kids are on social media all the time. And I have to say, mums and dads, you're also probably on social media all the time as well. So we have to role model what we are consuming, because it's all very well for you to say to your kids, get off Facebook all the time. You're always on Facebook. Oh, I'm just going to check out what my friends are doing. A kid will smell a hypocrite a mile away. So mums and dads, buckle up. I'm going to share some helpful advice and some tips that you can guide your kids when it comes to social media. I don't know if you're on a faith journey, but for many people who are watching this, they believe in God and believe in the Bible. And I'm going to share some Bible verses, but even if you don't believe in God or have an active faith, some of the things I'm going to be sharing with you will be helpful. But for those who have got an active faith, it'll make much more sense. There's a great verse in Philippians and says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, admirable, anything excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And it's easier said than done, because unfortunately there are many voices vying for your kids' attention that are not always trustworthy. They're not always admirable, they're not always pure, and they're not always of a good report. And so we have to help shape our kids, not only by creating maybe some external filters around the family home when it comes to technology, but you have to help our children have an internal filter to actually put it through that lens of whatever is true, whatever is lovely, whatever is a good report. Think and dwell upon those things. There's a great verse in Proverbs that also says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. So you're training your child when it comes to manners and respect and obedience and all those things that help shape their character, but you also have to train them up about being more discerning when it comes to technology and social media platforms. I saw a funny little post about social media, and it says this is how social media works. Me, I prefer mangoes to oranges. A random person may usually make the comment. So basically what you're saying is that you hate oranges. You also failed to mention pineapples, bananas, and grapefruits. Educate yourself. And that's what unfortunately happens far too many times, is that people can make an innocent comment and other people start making all sorts of assumptions about you. And so your kids are going into this world, and they have to be very careful, and knowing that there are some people who aren't always friendly when it comes to social media. And social media is not always bad. There are a lot of good things, and there are also not so good things. The good things are, one thing is it helps us stay connected. We are built for relationship. We're built for community. And so we can connect with our neighbors, we can connect with our family, we can connect with our friends, whether they're across the street or around the world. It's a great thing that we can connect and communicate and share photos and different events and to celebrate together. But on social media, the negative thing is it can often be very superficial. We have to interpret what people are thinking by only what they write. And even their emojis can actually be misinterpreted. I remember hearing a comment about a grandma trying to be hip, and she wrote LOL to her granddaughter when it came to someone who actually had died, and she was said LOL, and what she was writing was lots of love. The granddaughter interpreted it as laugh out loud, and she couldn't quite work out why her grandmother would say LOL. But again, we're on different planes and we have to communicate more effectively. Another good thing about social media is that we connect with like-minded people that believe and think like we do, or the same values and belief systems. But the negative side of things is that we actually can only get to hear one side of the equation, that one perspective. And so we might assume that everyone thinks the way that we do. And that is how many social media platforms work, by actually feeding what you think, and you only get one side of the equation. It can enhance creativity and by sharing music and art and ideas, and that's a great thing. But we also can share things that can be traced back to you. And unfortunately, many people have shared things and it has bitten them on the backside when they shared something that they didn't mean to say at the time, or it came back to them 5 or 10 years later, and a prospective employer thinks that you think that way, and that is not helpful. We can do fundraising and get behind campaigns through social media, and that's a good thing. But it also means that through social media you can actually get unsolicited social media campaigns. We can communicate with our peers and we can feel a sense of belonging. That's a good thing, because we all want to feel belonging, but we also can actually get that unhealthy connection to being wanted or loved by the number of friends we have, or the number of likes, or the number of thumbs up we get on our social media platforms, and that can be very unhealthy. And I can also hear there's a good thing about a streak, and that means that not taking your clothes off, but a streak meaning having a continuous connection with another person, and that can be healthy. But then I've also heard about it that it can be unhealthy, because you've taken technology away from your kid, and it's like chopping off their left arm, because they're going to spoil their streak. So we have to be aware that we can use technology for good and the not so good. And we also have to know and teach our kids that what they read and see on social media isn't always real. I can't give you all the different apps and different things that you can get. There are hundreds and thousands of apps on social media platforms, and it will be ill-informed for me to try to give you all of that. But you as a parent, if you've got a healthy relationship with your kid, it is to actually have an ongoing dialogue with them and actually be curious about what type of apps they have on their phones and tablets. But some things you might be aware of, there's things like called Calculator Plus. It could look very innocent, but that Calculator Plus, it's not a calculator. It might be where they hide and keep things secret from you or from others that they don't want anyone else to know about it. Now, that might be okay for a while, but you have to ask yourself, why are they keeping things hidden? And that could be something that you could have an ongoing conversation with your kids. There's things called Snapchat, and you've probably heard of that. And you can send an image and it can be deleted after 5 or 6 seconds, and you can create a different parameters for that. But it only takes one person to screenshot that, and it's no longer just disappears. Someone has got that permanently. You have to educate your kids that Snapchat, even though it seems to be disappearing, once you put anything in the digital world, it is there in cyberspace forever. And there's various other platforms where your kids can ask questions anonymously, and they might get helpful advice from people who are complete strangers, who do not have a vested interest in your child's health and well-being. And one other thing, there's various platforms that can seem healthy, and there was one called Vora, and that Vora is actually helping track your child's diet. But if your child's on that all the time, it could actually become unhealthy, that their body image is going to be relying on how many calories that they've burnt or how many calories they've consumed, and they can get an unhealthy perspective of their own body image and their self-esteem and self-worth. Instagram and TikTok and you've heard of all of these, and these things that can be shared on social media platforms, but they can also become quite risque. Some of the images and videos are showing people with not as many clothing as you would like, mum and dad. So again, you have to help your kid become more discerning. And you've heard of Tinder, it's a dating app. There's also a thing called Yubo, which is a dating app for teens. There's various chat rooms, and would highly recommend for you to connect with a website called pluggedin.com. It's provided by Focus on the Family in the US, and it actually overviews various apps and games and movies and music, and it gives you some evaluation or review. And for you as mums and dads is to be better informed as you speak to your kids about what they are consuming on their technology. But a couple of the other safety tips that I would encourage you to talk with your young people about. And as I said, being informed is one thing, but also getting your kids to be better informed about the various platforms and the various dangers. There are opportunities for you to set some boundaries, some restrictions about what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. Set some time limits and allow them to be transparent. And I would also encourage you to be your child's friend on social media platforms, but that doesn't mean you have to be big brother or big sister and oversee everything they say and do, and never embarrass them and post things to make them feel small or inferior. But also, if your kids are hesitant, you have to actually ask yourself, are they ready for the world of social media? If they say, no, mum and dad, you can't be my friend, then that's an ongoing conversation to have. It means that you can't trust them. And you're only there to ensure that they are safe at all times, that the interactions they have with their peers or colleagues is of a healthy note, not being cyberbullied. So you're there as an overseer rather than an engaged person. You have to teach your kids to be more responsible about how they share information and not to disclose things about where they are going. And this can be so easy, and we've heard of people robbing people's homes because it's on social media platform where they are at, or they're actually saying, I'm at a sporting event, and kids can be identified by their uniforms or by the school that they have. And so mums and dads, I would also encourage you not to take as many photos of your kids that can help identify your child and where they are at any particular time, because there are some people that may use this information to track them down. And I don't say that to scare you. I say that in all sincerity, that unfortunately in our world we have to be vigilant about what we allow and communicate on our social media platforms. We need to also teach our kids the ramifications and the legal aspect and the reach they can have and the power they can have on social media, and how they can easily lose control of something they post online. And that's where we lean into a conversation briefly about sexting, is that if a child sends a nudie picture, and they may say, well, I didn't send a picture that showed my face, but you don't know where that picture will go. Or they might say, well, I love that person and that person loves me, but if that relationship breaks up, are you willing to trust them enough that they will not pass that information on? So young people are here and now, and they don't think through the consequences of their choices. And so you have to teach them that they can easily lose control and what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. We also need to give them some strategies if they are cyberbullied, to be able to tell you if they have someone who is talking about them on social media. And we can talk about stranger danger, but and we can talk about that a lot of people are being cyberbullied, but I have to also say that on statistics analysis, most children are bullied not on digital platforms. It can happen, but most likely it's going to be bullied at school. But that bullying at school could follow them at home, when it used to be for you and I, when we were bullied, we could leave the class bully at school and go home, and our home was a haven. But unfortunately, through digital platforms, those voices or that bullying can continue online. So we need to help our kids be equipped and about what they allow to consume themselves. And I know it's easy to say, get off social media, but social media is also the good thing. They can stay connected to their healthy friends rather than unhealthy friends. And we have to also be very aware about how we share our passwords with our family and our friends, because they can take advantage of that and not to our benefit always. So another few little things that I'd like to encourage you to think about is the old motto, do unto others that you'd have them do unto you. And if you don't want your child to be a bully, then they shouldn't be a bully. If you don't want your child to have something shared on social media that they don't think it would be comfortable, then they shouldn't do it either. So do unto others that you'd have them do unto you. To think before they click. I mean, that's a simple motto, but that could be a catchphrase of your family. Think before you click. And remember, your child is not always thinking as clearly as you might like. Their frontal part of their brain, called the prefrontal cortex, is still developing, and they don't think through the consequences. So the next time you say to your child, "What were you thinking?" is because they may not necessarily be thinking as well as you would like. So encourage them to actually think before they click. Will actually encourage them to say, well, what could happen if I click onto this? What could happen to the people who I'm sharing this with? These things are just an intuitive nature, and you have to constantly remind your children to think before they click. There are some privacy settings on social media platforms, so I'd encourage yourself and your kids to learn more about them and what they can actually help have filter and parameters within their social media settings. And like the think before you click is, don't share things that you would not want others to find out or see. And that is such an important thing, especially when it comes to sending inappropriate images via digital aspects. And that also has that legal ramification, is that if you pass on something that you might thought was innocent, well, innocent to you, but not to the person who was being sent about, you can actually have some legal ramifications of passing on inappropriate imagery of a nude or a child, a minor. And that's something that to be very serious about. Don't accept requests from people that you do not know. That seems very obvious, but a lot of people are driven by how many friends they have on social media platforms. And so if they want to increase their number, they're going to just say, oh, this person knows this person who knows this person, and they say yes to a invitation. No, you have to continue to do an audit and say how many people are on your social media feeds and on your social media platforms, and do you know them well? Do not accept people who are strangers, and do not accept people that you only think you know. I think it's also vitally important to help train your kids, or to teach your kids that to be trusted on social media, not to pass on other information, say, hey, I know something about somebody else. And we all love to be in the know, but don't allow your kids to get into that habit of just passing on information. That's gossip, and that's not healthy, and it's not courteous, and it's not healthy in any friendship or relationship. So don't pass on information that someone has shared with you and pass it through the social media platforms. We've already talked about restrictions and having some boundaries, and you as mum and dad need to be a positive role model when it also comes to social media platforms, not to make comments that will come back and bite you later on in life. We need to be good role models when it comes to technology and social media. There is so much more we can talk about in this space, and I encourage you to look on our website at families.org.au and download a lot of articles or different podcasts regarding this issue, because you, mum and dad, have an incredible responsibility to train up your child in the way that they should go. When it comes to technology, you need to train them up in the area of social media. And if we can be of any other service, please do not hesitate to contact us at response@families.org.au. I hope you stay tuned for another edition of our Talking About series. God bless.